Hey babes, my name's Hannah.
And my name is Chasity.
Welcome back to Bookish Babes. Today we're going to be giving you guys our February reading wrap up. I had a very mediocre reading month. It seems like you had a good reading month.
I had an okay reading month.
She read 10 books. That's better than okay. I read 4. To be fair, I got into a very, very, very long fantasy book that I just didn't finish this month. I will finish next month.
Yeah, and you need time to savor that one, okay? And to be fair, I did read quite a few smaller ones.
Okay.
A poetry book.
Yeah.
And some novellas. So, I mean, little short, fast ones.
Also, I'm still on track for my reading goal. So, that's a win to me.
That is a win. That is a win. So,
I think you should start.
I should probably start. Okay. So, the first one that I finished up in February was Dance Macabre. That is number 14 in the Anita Blake series.
Oh my god, how many are there?
I think there's like 28.
Oh my god.
I think right now, maybe I think we're like 28.
Is she still writing them?
Uh-huh.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. It's intense.
It's very intense. So this is actually the lowest rating I've ever given an Anita Blake book, and I give it a 2-star, and there's reasonings behind this. So I can safely say this was my least favorite. And the reason behind that is that this one dealt a lot more with just personal problems with Anita and the other characters. It was a very long story arc, personal issues and build up between the characters for like absolutely no purpose. Like, it was a whole lot of build up with no action. I was missing all of like the actual, there was no like bad guy in this one.
I see.
There was
no conflict.
There was no conflict.
Yeah.
There was none of her like necromancer cases. There was nothing with that. So I was missing the action and the kind of grit of the series, where it was just like her relationships and kind of the drama aspect of it. And then there was one like particular case, I don't want to really give too much away, but there was one incident, this thing that we were worried about this for like half of the book, and it turned out to not even be an issue.
Okay.
And I was like, y'all just put me through that for no reason. So I was kind of upset about that. However, the ending is where it picked up and set it up for the next book, where I am excited to get back into the world and like figure out where that's gonna go.
Yeah.
So I'll be continuing on.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I kind of felt that way about my first book. I read Throne of Glass. I finally started it. I was bored for about 70% of the book, and then kind of like she said at the end, I was like, okay, now I'm interested. I will read the rest of them. However, I have heard from people who have read the series, you included, that it gets worse before it gets better. That the second one is worse than the first, but then after that they get good.
Yeah, I did struggle with the second one.
So it's not like I'm necessarily in a rush. I wanted to like it more than I did. I did give it 3 stars because I love, do you say Selena or Selena for her name?
Selena.
Selena.
That's how I say it.
I
don't know if it's right.
really liked her. I really liked her. It's rare that I like a main character like that.
It's very true.
I loved her. So I wanted to like it more. I didn't love the forced love triangle either. It felt very forced to me. I think she was trying to make a love triangle. I didn't quite buy the connection between her and, you know what I mean? Weirdly, it was her and Dorian that I didn't buy. And I feel like it's
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, I'm glad that we can agree on that.
100%.
Because I was like, oh, they're forcing this a little bit. Who's that other character though? The princess. I can't remember her name.
Namaya?
Yes.
I loved her.
Love her. So I liked the characters. Just unfortunately, it wasn't very character driven. It was very, driven by the world and what was going on. And it took a long time to get into the main conflict.
I think that was her name.
Right. It was something like that.
I do want to reread this series.
Yes.
Soon.
I will get to the second one at some point because I want to get to the rest of them. Mainly like the 4th one, I think, is where everybody said that like it's amazing. But I did give this one 3 stars. It's not that I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It's just like I said, like a good portion of it was really slow. It took me a while to get through, but the end set it up for the rest of the series being good.
So, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm excited for you to read them too.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your opinion. I'm interested to see, like, once you get through it, like, who else you start to like.
Yeah. It's interesting because I don't often like a main character like that, so I'm curious to see if I'll continue to like her. It's a long series, and I think she's got a lot of time to fuck up with me. So.
She does indeed.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of other characters that are introduced, and I'm waiting to see.
I will, because I'm excited about the world. The world does seem interesting.
Oh, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like this was like a setup book for sure, which makes sense because it's the first, but, you know, anyway.
I will say, after you read the second one,
yeah,
because you started right away with Throne of Glass, after you read the second one, you should read Assassin's Blade before you read the third one.
Okay, that makes sense. Because that's like, it's a prequel, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like 5 little novellas.
Oh, nice.
And just 5 little short stories.
Yeah. Okay.
But I would read it after Crown of
the
Midnight,
one?
yeah, before you continue on.
Yeah.
Because some of those other characters will be introduced. Like, you don't have to necessarily, but some of those other characters will be introduced throughout the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And they just play, like, little minor parts. But it's just nice to know how...
where they came from.
Where they came from, and, like, how they can... Like, why they show up when they show up.
That makes sense.
So the second book that I read was, no surprise here, Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover.
You made a whole video about it.
I made a whole video. I talked a whole lot about it. I gave it 5 stars. If you want to know my full opinion on it, you can check back out that video, our Bookish Babble on it.
Please keep in mind that our Bookish Babbles are truly babbles. You just turn on the camera and
we just
have like a book club moment where we just talk about it.
Yeah. And they're full of spoilers.
Yeah.
So maybe don't go on there if you haven't read it yet. But it really is good. Love it. We both loved it.
Yes.
I'm going to sneak another one in here since she's only got 4. The next one I read was Unlock Your Storybook Heart. This is number 3 in the You Are Your Own Fairy Tale collection. It's a poetry book by Amanda Lovelace. I was lucky enough to get an advanced reader copy from NetGalley for this one. Thank you, NetGalley, for that. I really loved this collection. I am kind of picky about what kind of poetry I read. I don't read a lot of it. I've recently been in a poetry mood, though. I don't know why. Amanda Lovelace definitely resonates with me, though. I've always really liked her stuff, and this one is no different. I liked this one a lot. It was definitely taking little bits and pieces of, like, the fairy tales were told as children and kind of turning them into modern day, like, representations of things that we need to tell ourselves instead. And I really, really liked it.
Oh,
yeah.
That's kind of cute.
It was really cute. And the imagery that came along with it was really, really pretty too.
Yeah. The second book I have is, I mentioned last month that this year I'm doing a reread of the Harry Potter books like I do every year, but instead of reading them all at once, I'm doing one per month. So I read The Chamber of Secrets in February. It is consistently my least favorite in the series. Both the book and the movie is my least favorite. But I think rereading it as an adult, I do appreciate things that I didn't appreciate when I first read it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the first time that we go to the Burrow, to the Weasley house. It's like the most magical thing to read it for the first time. I know. And there was so much more. It's the least action to me, but there's so much more character development. And I think as I get older, I'm appreciating that a lot more about this book. That, you know, this is where, like, Ginny is kind of first really introduced. Even though she's, like, talked about in the first, she doesn't go to Hogwarts in the first book. So she's really first introduced in this and plays such a big role in this installation of the story. I think I liked it a lot more this time than I ever have reading it in the past. It's still probably my least favorite, though. But number 3 is my favorite, so I'm excited to read it I'm excited to read it in March.
Okay.
I love Prisoner of Azkaban. Love Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I know I need to re-listen. I need to re-listen.
Yes, and the audiobook is fantastic. Yeah. She was supposed to do this with me, but she hasn't.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you.
Well, I think, what is today's date?
Yeah.
Tomorrow I get an Audible credit, so I'll get the first Harry Potter.
Okay.
I'll start
The
it.
audiobook narrator is fantastic. Fantastic.
I'll start it.
Loved him. Yeah.
I have not read Harry Potter since I was like a teenager.
You haven't reread it?
No.
Oh, you need to reread it.
I have never reread it.
You need to reread it. They're not super long audiobooks either. I think even Chamber of Secrets was longer than the first one. I think it was still like 10 or 11 hours. It wasn't bad.
Yeah. I've never reread it.
Oh my god, you have to. I reread it every year. Every year, and I rewatch the movies every year.
I've rewatched the movies.
And I swear to God, every single time I find something that I missed.
That's me.
Or that I forgot about it.
That's me with Avatar. I
Yeah.
swear. And that's me rereading them every year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the next one was a reread for me. It was the first Crescent City book, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I was preparing for the release of the second one. It was a 5-star.
That's the book that I spent a good portion of this month reading and getting into.
It's a fantastic read. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm enjoying it so far.
She is enjoying it.
Yeah. A lot of world building.
Lots of world building. It's a fantastic, fantastic book, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm. She said before we turned on the camera, she's like, I'm not saying anything about Crescent City.
Not a thing.
No.
Nope.
I'm gonna spoil it for anybody else.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Nope. Not gonna happen.
Do you want to do another one?
Yeah. The next one that I read was one of the novellas that I was talking about. Sleeping Dogs Lie by Samantha Downing. Samantha Downing is fantastic. I've talked about her before. My Lovely Wife was written by her.
Yeah.
Loved it. This was on, was one of the Audible originals.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a little novella. So good.
Was it?
So good. It was just a little short novella.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
I'm writing it down.
So good.
Mm-hmm. So good.
I just can't even.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not very long. It was just a little novella. It was like 4 hours, but
Yeah.
she's like really climbing up the ranks for me. Everything.
She's getting up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got some twisty stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's one of her books that I have that I think it's called He Started It. I haven't read that one yet, but I've got it.
My Lovely Wife, a lot of people talk about.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And then there's her other one, For Your Own Good. Something like that.
Mm.
It was like a private school. Oh, it was really good too. That one was trippy.
The next one that I read, I'm so sorry. You're probably so over us talking about these books.
I don't care. Listen up.
She's not sorry. I reread the first ACOTAR book. A Court of Thorns and Roses, sorry. So we actually today were supposed to film a video on the first one, like a whole spoiler filled. So I reread it because I wanted to make notes on it, because obviously the first time that I read it I wasn't taking, I have some very brief notes, some little tidbits, but most of it I was just kind of experiencing the world. I wasn't taking notes. And I was just telling her that I really wish I had taken more notes the first time.
We could go back through the text threads.
That's true. We have a group chat where I'm just I kept texting her all of my little thoughts along the way. I didn't even think about that. But I love this book. I really do. Even knowing what I know with the rest of the series, I still really liked it the first time. There's obviously, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but there's a character that's a big part of the first book that you end up hating in the other books. I still really enjoyed him in the first book. I think I was able to actually separate myself and be okay, at this point, at this moment, this works.
You're a bigger person than I am. You're a bigger person than I am.
Because when you read it, you're fuck him. And it just made me miss first book Lucian so much more.
He's a dick too in the first one.
I love it. He's the comedic relief in the first one. This was back, I remember after I finished the first one, he was my favorite character. He's no longer my favorite character because all of that.
Because he's not a dick anymore?
He's going through some shit now though.
Of course he is.
So maybe we'll get him back. Somebody asked Sarah J. Maas in one of her Q&As if we'll get first book Lucian back, and she's he's going through some things. Let him figure that out. But I loved first book Lucian. I loved being introduced to the world. I loved experiencing the world through Feyre's eyes, because it was a world that she wasn't familiar with either, and since she is the obviously the main narrator, it was really cool learning it along with her.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was one of the coolest things.
Tons of things that I didn't pick up on that I picked up on now, knowing what I know. Just knowing what I know. And there were so many moments that broke my heart knowing what I know.
I told you it would hit different.
It's why I wish I had taken notes the first time, because now all of my notes are skewed. Because I'm looking at it through a different lens.
I know.
Because I know what I know.
I know.
You know what I know.
I know.
I'm trying to spoil me.
I know.
But I know what I know. That's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, it's hard because I'm very picky with my 5-star ratings. Second ACOTAR book, 100% a 5-star, no questions asked. And I don't feel like I can rate it at the same. But I like at least 4.5. I still really enjoyed it. Even the second time, knowing what I know, I still really enjoyed it.
No, I agree.
Yeah. And I still don't like either of her sisters. I want it to be known.
Part of it is necessary.
I've read every single book in the series, and I still don't like either of her sisters. Not one of them. Not one of the two do I like.
I like Nesta.
I don't like her.
Elaine is still useless. I don't see her.
Yeah, I don't care enough about her to not like her, I guess, but it's...
Make her make sense.
Yeah.
Sarah.
Why is she a character?
Make her useful.
But also going back under the mountain was horrifying the second time. The first time I was like, oh, some action. And now the second time...
Don't make me go back. Don't make me go back.
I don't want to. I was like, can I just not read the last part of the book? But I felt like I needed to reread the last part of the book.
Okay, so the next one that I read was The Stranger by Harlan Coben. I was really excited about this one because this one is a show. And I've seen some previews for this one and it looked really good. The beginning of the book really got me and I was super invested, super into the story. Sounds really good. You got me hooked. I'm in it. Throughout the entire thing. I was super into the characters. I was like, what the hell is going on? I need to know what. This is really twisty, really like character driven,
for sure.
Plot. Holy shit, what the hell's going on? And it was really good and I was really invested and really interested like up until the end. So I gave it a 3-star because the end felt like a letdown. Because it was kind of too neat.
You don't like that it wrapped it up like
that? It was too neat in a way that was like, oh, you had me thinking this whole time that it was gonna be something really crazy, and then it wasn't. It was just like,
you're like, that's
something
it? I read this whole book for it to be that?
Stupid.
Yeah.
Kind of petty almost. It was like a really little...
I've read thrillers like that before where I'm just like, so I've just read this whole book just for that to be the big twist.
Yeah, it was like, so we're going in circles and circles and circles, and it may be this, and it may link to this, and it may be this, and oh my god, did she really do that? And then it was like, no, she's been in this dude's backyard this whole time, and she had nothing to do with any of that. And I was like, what?
Well, you just spoiled it for everybody watching.
No, that's really not what happened.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Do you know what I mean? It was just like, what? You know, like I'm so confused. I was so confused. There were so many great lead-ups.
You're like, I could have made a better ending than this.
And then it was just really...
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just asking for too much.
I don't know. It's being high maintenance.
Maybe. However, the next one, One Little Mistake by Lucinda Berry. I loved this novella. This one got me good. Now, mind you, it was only a little novella, but I really, really liked it. And I want to read some of her novels. There's one that's like The Perfect Child or The Perfect Mother or something. I was looking at that one. I really want to read that one because I liked this a lot. Yeah, One Little Mistake. You should listen to that one too.
Okay. My last one that I want to talk about for this month is Neon Gods by, what's the author's
Katie
name?
Robert.
Katie Robert. I gave it 3 stars. Initially, while reading Neon Gods, I was very, very, very intrigued. There was a lot of cool things about it. It was a cool retelling of Hades and Persephone. It's very much a retelling. There's a lot of like details that aren't super accurate to the original story, which is fine for me because it's not, you know, it's not claiming to be an exact. Also, the world could have been really cool if she had delved more into it. I was so interested in like the politics of like Olympus existing in the modern day world, like existing in our world that we have now. And these gods and like they didn't have any special power. They were just normal people that were in power. You know what I mean? Like they were just humans. It was more of like a socialite sort of situation.
That was really cool.
It could have been really cool.
Yeah, the idea was really cool.
I cared so much about the politics, but the book didn't. So I don't know. Maybe that's like a me thing. I don't think that like people pick up this book to read about like the politics of the world. There was so much smut. There was so much.
Yeah.
Like it's like a 50 Shades of Grey sort of situation where like I was like skipping the sex scenes because I was just like, really again, like it was like all the story was after a certain point. So initially, very cool. Then middle / like most of the end had just like too much sex and like not a lot of like character development or world building. And then the end, there was just like this. It's just one of those where it like built up to a conflict that lasted like a page long. And then the ending, I was like, okay. And also there was just like a lot of like tropes that I've seen in romance novels before. But I feel like I need to rate it 3 stars because it is unique in its own way of being like a really cool like Hades and Persephone retelling.
That's true.
There were some aspects of it that I did enjoy. I, however, like probably won't pick up the rest of the series. Like it's like one of those where I was like, okay, it was good. I don't feel like I need to continue. You know, I read it. I don't think it was a waste of time. I enjoyed reading some of it, a lot of it, until I was like, I got it. And like, also it's just like a lot of like sex in front of other people, which like, don't mean to kink shame, not my thing. So I was just like, I can't read about this again because it's making me uncomfy.
That's
So
fair.
I just kept like skipping the pages.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's not your thing.
It's not.
It's not.
Like, have you ever read a book and you're like, there's a lot of sex scenes, but they keep doing this thing that I don't like, so
Yeah.
I can't. Also, we were talking about this before, I can't stand when a guy from a romance novel comes up with like a nickname for the girl and like continues, like repeatedly calls her that.
Like,
it's like one thing to like once in a while
he's
throw it out there. Okay.
overzealous with it. That's all he ever says.
It's all he ever calls her. Like, I was like, what's this bitch's name again? Because I
I
haven't
mean,
heard it. I haven't read
realistically, he doesn't put your name in every sentence. So.
it. Yeah, like so he doesn't need to repeat that same nickname over and over again. I feel like it sounded like I hated it. I didn't. There was good aspects, there was bad aspects. I gave it a 3 star.
I mean, that's fair.
Also,
I mean, it also sounded like I hated The Stranger, but I didn't.
A note that I wanted to point out is there's a lot of representation in the book, which is really cool. Like the author just like peppers in the fact that they're both the main characters are bisexual, which is awesome. And I listened to, so I kind of switched back and forth between the physical copy and the audiobook. Don't recommend the audiobook personally. I didn't like the narrators. They were British, and I just, upon reading the book, I didn't read them as British. I didn't read them with an accent. So it threw me off when I listened to the audiobook.
But there's like nothing in the
that would
book
suggest that they are British.
What?
And so there was 2 different narrators, obviously, because it switched point of views between Hades and Persephone. And then
were they both British?
Yeah. And then when the guy who like did Hades' voice would try to like mimic Persephone, it would just it was so gross, it like threw me off. So I didn't love the audiobook narration. Yeah, I just didn't read them as having an accent. Maybe that's a me thing.
No, I mean,
because
maybe it is a us thing, but like when I read the book, that's
I just
not
picture them as like American. Yeah. Okay. So those are my notes on that.
Okay, so the next one that I read was Last Breath by Karen Slaughter. That is Good Daughter 0.5, so the prequel to Good Daughter. I really enjoyed this one. I haven't read anything from Karen Slaughter previously, and I definitely will be reading more from her because I really, really liked this one. This was like she was a lawyer, and she was approached by like a little Girl Scout who needed help. She wanted to be emancipated. And it turned into this whole like murder mystery type book. It was good. It was really good. It was really, really good. So I really, really liked it, and I will be continuing with that. Then the next one that I read was Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote. I love Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's one of my favorite old movies.
You know what's funny is I always forget that Truman Capote wrote that book.
Yeah.
Because he wrote In Cold Blood.
He did?
Very different.
Very, very different. He
But
wrote
I
some
love
very
In Cold
different
Blood,
shit.
but-
Yeah. He wrote some very different shit.
Yeah.
I've watched the movie about 1 billion times because I love Audrey Hepburn. That's my main bee. I love her so much. But I've never actually read the book, which is kind of surprising considering I'm such a book nerd. But I've never actually read the book, and I sat down and I did, and I gave it 4 stars. It's pretty damn close to the movie, like pretty damn close.
Nice.
So that was just a quick little read. And then the very last one, which I actually just finished today, was the second Crescent City House of Sky and Breath, and it was a 5-star, and that's all you get.
She had something spoiled for her, and she's salty, and so now she's not going to say anything so as to not spoil anything for anybody else.
That's all you get.
Yep.
It's fantastic. Go read it.
Like, I will be scrolling through TikTok, and like I'll see the cover pop up, and I'm like, nope, and I've got to like instantly
I already
scroll
told her.
past
I was
it.
like, you have to stay
So I
off
didn't
of
finish
everything.
the first one, so
Off of everything.
I know. I love people who put the spoiler warnings, but that is everything that we read in the month of February. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let us know down below what you read in February and what you thought of it. Even though we have the world's longest TBR, we are still always looking for recommendations.
Always.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you know when we post. We'll have anything that you need to know, like our Goodreads, anything, linked down below. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.